right. Welcome back, nerds.
That's what I want to say every time I walk into the planetarium, but I don't know them that well yet. So
fair.
I can't say that.
I say that every
They'd
time I
laugh,
walk into the
probably.
living room and Travis and all his friends are in there.
Oh, yeah.
What's up, nerds? And they look at me like, you're a nerd. I'm like, yeah. Have you seen my tattoos?
Well, yeah, that's why we said it.
Welcome back to Outside the Cinema, your weekly source for cult movie discussion. We're your hosts, Bill and Chris. Glad you could be with us this week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the show. If you're one of our Patreon supporters, thank you very much for being here. This week's Patreon supporter of the week is Howard. He suggested the films for this week's show, and we are obliging him by doing them.
That's how it works.
It's how it works.
That's the
it's
system.
real simple. Give us money and we'll do what you tell us to.
Just like, never mind.
Just like, oh, Christopher.
If I start, I'm not stopping.
Yeah, I know. I like to get you going sometimes, don't get me wrong, but then there's other days where I really just want to get through the show, and today is one of those days.
Yeah. I'll just kind of one real fast thing, an observation. No.
Wait,
So-
wait, brother. So you and I have been good friends / brothers for many, many years. And when you say, hang on just a second,
Yeah.
you and I both know that's not what's going to happen.
No, for real. This time it's just going to be a minute of stuff. Ready? Okay,
Go.
so when I watched Sid and Nancy and the Great Rock and Roll Swindle, I always thought, wow, Sid Vicious is wearing that shirt with the swastika on it, with the Ghostbusters logo. Not really. It's called anyway. So I'm like, what would ever possess somebody to buy one of those shirts? Like, how bad could things actually get? Like, would you have to just like go and buy other stuff? And like, they sell these on, for anybody not watching, I bought that anti-Nazi shirt. And do you want to see my, my set of, what are these called now? Antique brass knuckle. No, sorry, paperweights.
Paperweights. Oh, okay.
These are genuine brass paperweights.
Well, do you want to see my letter opener?
Sure.
That's my letter opener,
Nice.
just in case.
And this is my icebreaker when they come to the house.
Also, do you want to see my penis?
Look, I put some purple grip tape on it. A little.
Grip tape? Is that like an actual back grip or is that like a tape?
Oh, it's a tennis racket.
Tennis
grip.
racket. Perfect.
Because that was the only kind I could find in purple. Because, I'm going to color coordinate this fucking revolution. The bat is called the icebreaker when they come for any of my brown friends. I'll make mashed ice.
Fair enough.
There are people online, gentle, kind people, that are now saying, I really want to kill someone. Just one specific person. And to see that, it's like, holy shit, they are pushing us way too far. Okay, minute's up. I'm done. That's it.
Your minute was up 45 seconds ago.
That tracks for me. But it wasn't 10 minutes.
No, that's
How
true.
about that?
That's true.
I did keep it short.
Very good. Very good. Yes, we hate everything. And again, all of our overseas listeners or listeners in other countries, we hate everything just as much as you do.
Yeah, everything you're saying about us, we're right there with it.
Yep.
We
And
hate us too.
I genuinely gather that people, like specifically, I'll say like people in Canada, because the Canadian terrorist thing has been a big thing.
Oh my God, yeah.
People in Canada understand that a large majority of the U.S. population is not on board with what's happening. So that like I see lots of things that are like, fuck the U.S., but trust me, we still think you're okay.
Yeah,
Don't take it
that's how it
personally.
That's how it kind of was in the 80s. Like, we didn't hate Russians. We hated fucking Khrushchev and all those other motherfuckers that were causing the problems.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
Drago
the
was a
government.
perfect example of that.
Yeah.
He
not
showed
the
that he could
people.
change. If he can change, you can change.
I have changed.
Actually, Rocky said that. It was Rocky that said that, not Ivan Drago. Ivan Drago was just like, oh, yeah, all right, oh, yeah.
Drago said, I'm going to win the war because I have a doctorate in chemical engineering.
Speaking
You'd
of
never know
doctorates
that.
and
You'd never know it
engineering.
looking at Dolph Lundgren, would you?
No. Dolph Lundgren's the man, though. I love Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so Howard chose these this week. Hey, if you are not a member of our Patreon, I implore you to think about becoming one. Patreon.com/outside the cinema. All of the money that we generate there goes into keeping the show alive. It is not free the way we do the show. We host it in a good place so that where the show will be there when you go looking for it.
Yeah, that's helpful.
It'll archive it. Well, no, I mean, but how over the years, how many people have done podcasts that hosted their stuff and things? I mean, it happened to us a couple times where like the hosting services just disappeared.
Yeah. Oh.
And it was like, hey, where'd the show go? And it's like, I don't know.
Fuck, it's supposed to be right here.
I don't know. For the last 387 weeks, it was right there. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, we have to host the show. We have to pay our internet things. We have to pay the software that we use. We have to keep the boards and the microphones up and working. So all that money generates goes right back into the show. Anything helps. DIY broadcasting is still alive despite what Joe Rogan will tell you.
You mean the second most popular podcast?
Yes.
Oh,
yes, that's what I mean.
Interesting. You know, he lost out to the Midas Touch Network.
Are they the number one now?
They were. I don't know if they are now, but I was watching those guys like 2-3 years ago. So I'm kind of happy.
I've watched them for a while. Here's my thing with them. I love them. I like what they are trying to do, but they have gotten very, very clickbaity.
Yeah, that's why I stopped watching Pac-Man. He
Very
was a little too much. And you know what's weird? This is Jason still listening. Fozzie, sorry, still listens to the show. I was on an episode of his show, the podcast, which we all learned is a terrible way to name your show.
Yep, can't find it anywhere.
Because you can't find it, right? Which is why I didn't name something the Cult of the Cult, because good luck finding that. It's hilarious to me, but still. He had me on his show, and I was on with David Pakman before he got real big.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I got to talk to him, and we agreed on a lot of stuff, and he said I had good ideas. No, not bragging or anything. No, but that was nice. I actually had a moment with somebody before they got famous. So that's all. Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, we had a moment with what's his name that just won the Oscar? Sean Baker.
Oh.
He reached out to us about seeing Film Freaks, and we had a back and forth with him, which was cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was cool. All right.
Very nice.
We should get into this. What do we do? So Howard chose these films. He did not really give us much of a background other than, here you go, Eyes Without a Face, 1960, Savage Land, 2015. That's really the only info he gave us. That's cool, dude.
Yeah.
That's cool. So Eyes Without a Face is a certified classic, cult classic French film from 1960. Savage Land is a more recent 2015 mockumentary. It's not really found footage. It's a mockumentary film, but it's doing things in a more interesting way than some of the other ones. And I think the filmmakers behind it are the reason for that. And we will get into that when we review the film, but we are going to talk about Eyes Without a Face first, which is available via Criterion. You can watch it on Max because Max has most of the Criterion films on there.
There's a lot of versions on YouTube as well.
Yep. The version. Well, here, let me play the trailer. Nope, never mind. Why would it be connected? Why would it be connected?
Nah.
No big deal, right?
Nah, because it's Showtime. That's why.
After everything we went through with it last week,
yeah,
I had to go back in and edit the show, add Scott's segment after the fact.
Right.
It was a nightmare. Hang on, This is just still me working on the same iPad that I've said like 100 times I need to replace because it's not working right anymore. But yet I continued it because I just don't want to spend the money to buy a new one because we don't have enough Patreon support to purchase a new iPad.
I had to get one the other day, a new one, because my old one was old. And there's what is this? This is an iPad Air 11 with the M3 chip, and it was just over $500 on Amazon.
That's not too bad.
No. So I jumped on that because while you're looking stuff up, Alan and I are in the process of opening a web store, or whatever we want to fucking call it. You know, the thing with the connections to the print-on-demand stuff that you do with the show. And by the time this show goes out on Wednesday, we'll have a store on Etsy and Redbubble and a bunch of other places that I'm not really sure about. And I'm going to be selling stuff, cool. Designs, pictures. It's going to be called Spectopia. And I'm not going to tell anybody why, but there's like 6 good reasons why I named it that.
I believe you.
So Working on a logo for the Etsy store. And yeah, we're trying to supplement our income. And I have 1,000
iPhone
drawings.
16e.
Sorry.
So we're probably going to put up 5 new designs every week because I have 475 ready to go.
Nice.
I've been working.
I see your drawing, dude.
I've been drawing literally every day since my kid said, "Have you seen Procreate?" I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" God damn it, telling me shit I don't know about.
Welcome to my world. All right, here's a trailer. It'll probably be in French, but enjoy.
Yeah.
Not even any, like, it's just the music.
And I hope you like that track.
Yeah, because you're going to hear it a lot. All right, we're going to stop that.
Yeah.
That's not helping anybody. Eyes Without a Face, original title. Les Yeux Sans Visage, 1960. French film directed by Georges Franju, based on the novel. He also did Teresa, Thomas the Imposter, and Spotlight on a Murder. The novel written by Jean Redon. Also did the adaptation of Back to the Wall. So what's interesting is he wrote, Jean wrote this novel and then also did the adaptation of it,
Yeah.
which is always kind of interesting to see, I think.
Yeah. I like
And-
seeing when after a little while, after they've sat with their story,
Mm.
that they have no problem going in and being like, oh, you know what, we could change this over here and that would make this better. And that happened a lot with Douglas Adams when he did his radio version of Hitchhikers, and then it went to TV, and then I believe back to radio, and then it was a book. And there's so many different versions of things, but he wrote them all just for different versions, and I
Right.
like that. So I like to see that here.
All right, starring Pierre Brasseur. My French accent's worse than a lot of my other ones.
I think because you're trying to sound like a cartoon French person.
Oh.
You're trying to sound like that stereotypical French cop that's in this movie.
Oh, Alexander Renault, Juliette Manille, and Ali de Valli. So this is a certified cult classic. This is
Yes.
one of those earlier on, 1960, not super early, but genre flicks that came from outside of the United States that people then kind of latched onto, not just here, obviously, but all over the place, because it is kind of a macabre story in relation to a lot of the other things that you see. And you definitely get a much more hard-edged vibe, I feel, from this without actually having it be like a real, grotesque or hard movie. But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but it's interesting you say that because even though we're not talking, Carpenter or Terrifier levels of anything, the violence that happens in this it feels way more personal and angry.
despite how subdued it is.
Yeah, but it's just so that level of behavior doesn't seem to exist in this world because everybody's kind of not lethargic, but it's like they're in this thin layer of molasses. Everybody's moving kind of slow. And then for a fast action to happen, it's shocking.
Mm.
And it's on purpose, obviously.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and one of the things that people always talk about with this film is the very deliberate pacing of it.
which was annoying at first.
Until you kind of realize what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
The story is very simple. Pierre Brasseur plays Dr. Genzier. He's a surgeon. He had caused an accident, which left his daughter disfigured and basically ruined her face. So what he's now doing is trying to find her a new face. So he fakes her death by using.
I'm sorry, I got flashbacks to Josie and the Pussycats when you said new face.
I was thinking about Face Off. So,
yeah, how can you not?
This is Face Off without any of the flair. So
yeah,
the film opens with his assistant / main helper throwing a body into the river. We learn that body is claimed to be his daughter, but we then learn very early on that it's not. This will be a full spoiler review too. Both of these films tonight, I feel like we can't talk about them without kind of spoiling some stuff. So this is not so much a twisty type thing, but like, again, if you haven't seen it, it's a classic. I would recommend watching it. Boom. Okay, going. Yeah. So, all right. So they dump this body, claim that it's his daughter. He says that, oh yeah, they bring him in to identify the body, and he's, yep, that's her. But we find very early on that it wasn't her. It was someone that they tried to take her face off. Mm-hmm. And give it to his daughter, and it didn't work, and that person died, so they dumped the body, and now they're doing it this way so that nobody is really looking for her or any of that stuff.
Right.
We learned that she's got a fiance who loved her very much. They do a whole funeral thing. The police are somewhat curious as to what's going on, but they don't really do much because they don't really necessarily have any reason to do anything.
No, they are very what I like to call lazy Italian cop syndrome.
Yeah, it's definitely Polizia style policing in this.
Yeah, they almost feel like I'm going on vacation tomorrow, so this better wrap up fast.
Right. But
and
at
then
the
when
same
it doesn't,
time,
they just sit around.
Yeah, at the same time, they don't really, there's no reason for them to be looking at this point. A couple of people have disappeared, but that, people disappear all the time. So I'm not going to hate on them too much. I'll hate on them for their work later in the film. But there's a nice little thing that kind of happens at the beginning that if you're not paying attention, you won't even notice it, on the effect of what Incier's doing, where he claims that this woman that they found is his daughter when it's not. And when he's leaving, another man is coming in and says, "Oh, did you just identify the body of the young woman?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it was my daughter." And he's like, "Oh, well, my daughter's missing also. I was hoping that it was her." And apparently
nope. It's not.
Nope. But it's a nice little thing there to show that, it's affecting other families and there's other things going on outside of what this insular thing that the doctor is doing.
Oh yeah, and then you get a measure of his character.
Correct. He's a piece of shit.
Oh yeah,
piece of shit.
He's a Hugo Strange looking motherfucker. If you're into Batman at all, and yeah, he acts kind of like him. Maybe this is where Hugo Strange I gotta look something up.
Okay. Oops, ow. So yeah, the film is very simple. It's very simple. The woman that works for him basically goes out and finds women that have a similar look, a similar build to the daughter, kind of like befriends them, and then they kidnap them, and he steals their faces.
Yeah.
And then tries to give them to his daughter. And he is...
Yeah, no, Dr. Hugo Strange was like 20 years before this movie, so...
All right. So...
I don't know what
they kidnap these people and then basically take their faces off. They don't plan to kill them, I don't believe.
No,
but they
that's
continue
what I
to keep dying. So,
well, I mean, you remove part of a major organ.
Yes.
This might be a problem, especially if you're doing it in some kind of fucking animal shelter dungeon.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff going on. Like, he's also experimenting on dogs. He's got a whole bunch of dogs that live downstairs, and we see a number of times where he's doing experiments on them. He's a mad scientist, but he's the subdued mad scientist.
Yeah, he's not out to rule the world or control. He's just out to just get this back to normal.
Yep, he fucked up.
Still not acceptable.
Yep, he fucked up.
Yeah,
and apparently he's the only one.
And he doesn't want anybody to find out.
Yeah, pretty much. But he also feels like he's the only one that could do anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, this,
well,
you gotta remember,
given what he can do, I understand that.
and you got to remember, this is 1960.
Yeah.
Face transplants are now a thing that actually happens.
Yeah.
So this was literal science fiction for 1960. Now you make this movie and it's like, oh, but they actually do face transplants.
Oh, you want to know something funny?
Nope. I hate humor.
Okay, you want to know something coincidental?
Deadly serious is what I want. I want to hear
the first
something.
faceplant. The first successful faceplant was in 2005. Guess where?
France
Yes.
in an animal shelter.
No, but she was attacked by a dog. Huh?
Okay, all right.
Weird, right?
Foreshadowing.
The surgery involved transplanting the donor's face, including nose, lips, cheeks, and jawbone. Jawbone? Oh, shit.
Yeah. This is a less scientifically sound one where he just kind of cuts their face off, cuts around the eyes, cuts around the mouth, and then just places it back on top and then wonders why it doesn't work.
Yeah, but you know what though? It does the tissue does stay alive for a little while.
A little while, yeah. But and there's like
But he has no anti-rejection drugs in the in the regimen, which is probably a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically the daughter is, kind of like what?
The first successful organ transplant, first of all, obviously was in Boston, right? But
Always.
it was 1954.
Oh, wow.
That's later than I thought it would be, but it's also sort of earlier than I thought it would be.
What was it?
I know that
Was
doesn't
it a
make
kidney
sense.
transplant?
Yes, between twin brothers,
Okay.
Richard and Ronald Herrick.
Dick
Interesting.
and Ron.
Dick.
Dick
Yeah.
and Ron. Ron and Dick.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so if you are not a fan of slow burn, quiet body horror, then okay, just skip the film.
Yeah, and this is early, like among the first type of body horror kind of things too.
Yes.
So it's very tame compared to, like, we could all watch this while we were eating dinner, and my wife she's not big on body horror or generally bloody violence. But this was no problem.
Yeah. It almost does a disservice calling it body horror because you immediately think of Cronenberg and like Lynch and like these like weird fucking things. No, it's not even but it's 1960. So you gotta remember.
This is where it started.
For
right?
sure.
So if you look at skateboarding today versus skateboarding when it first started, totally fucking different, but the same thing.
Hey, if you look at pornography from today and pornography from when it started, it's the same
you wonder
thing.
why aren't they choking everybody?
Ugh.
I don't understand that trend.
Is it a trend? Is it trending? Is it like,
There's a lot of choking.
dude, I've been married for a long time, so I don't know anything anymore about
Hey,
about the
my
world.
wife doesn't always want to have sex, and I'm not going to be embarrassed.
Whoa.
Hey,
Whoa.
you know, it happens. So I see porn, and I don't understand the choking. It's very uncomfortable.
Okay.
I just don't like it. I'm just saying, so I don't watch it. That's how I handle that.
All right.
I'm not complaining about it. I'm just stating a fact. It's weird.
All right. Let's get back to talking about the movie.
Yep, the
That's on
movie is
me.
for me.
That's my bad. I brought that up.
All right. Well, you know how my brain works.
So we get a failed operation that we see from start to finish of one of the women that she lures her in by taking her to an opera or whatever it is, and then it's like, oh, I heard you're looking for a place to stay, and they dupe her, they chloroform her, and they take her face off.
Chloroform works so fast in media. Is so funny.
All
it takes
of these
minutes, long minutes, for your brain to pass out from chloroform.
Yeah. It goes.
You
want to
knock somebody out.
Plastic bag suffocation stuff that we've talked about in the past. And another one
Yeah.
happens in this movie where the lady gets stabbed in the neck and she bleeds out in 30 seconds.
Yeah, with
Not
no
even 30
blood
seconds.
though.
No, yeah, she bleeds out without bleeding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could have been massive internal bleeding right down into her body cat. I don't know.
No, either way. What
I like the fact there was no blood there.
No, it works. It works. Everything about this movie works. Not to spoil like how much I enjoyed it, but like everything in this movie works. There are long extended scenes that when you kind of start at the beginning and you kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, whereas like at first you're kind of like, why is this going like this? Why are we still seeing this lady driving? Why are we still in this room with this guy when he's not really saying much of anything?
Yeah, what's up with this weird circus music that keeps playing?
That's another whole story. The score on this is probably the only thing that I'm like, I don't know. The Gallopy type music is not really feeling it for me. But
yeah,
the scenes are extended, but it is done in such a purposeful way to draw you into the world that they're building. They're definitely there to show you that everyday life is still going on, despite the fact that this guy is cutting people's faces off and trying to put them on his daughter. You know, and we get a lot of scenes of the daughter wearing this. Is you've ever seen any of the promotional posters or like DVD artwork or VHS artwork? She wears this like kind of almost plain white like the Jabberwockies wear, that dance troupe, the plain white face mask. But it's like tinted a little bit to be more, I mean, the film's black and white, but it looks more like a skin tone than just like a stark white.
Oh, yeah, because you can't, I mean, a white mask would just
blow out.
You wouldn't get any definition on her face.
Yeah, it would blow out. But we see that, like, you know, she's suffering mentally from this probably more so than physically. And you know, despite the numerous operations that have happened, and I gather it's probably happened like 2 or 3 times, and it just continues. And she's just like, I'm fucking done with this. Like, this is done. Like, I don't want this anymore. Like, you know, and it plays itself out in a very like expected fashion. There's no real twists and turns here or anything like that to like make a major shift or anything, but it's just done in such a masterful way, and it's done with such restraint that it makes it all just flow in this dreamlike status, in this dreamlike feel.
Yeah, it definitely has. The look of it, I think, there was a lot of effort put into that. Yeah, it just doesn't feel real, which helps you kind of step back away from what's actually happening, and you're not like, oh my god, that's absolutely horrific, because they're not showing, you know, cutting all the sinew and muscle and bone grafts and whatever else they need to do. It's just straight up, I'm gonna draw a line around your face with this marker scalpel and around your eyes, but not your mouth, and then we're going to need 6 people to lift this heavy face off of this body. But it's all treated like not amateurish, not like they don't have the knowledge of surgery procedures, but like that's not the important part. So they're not going to focus that long on it.
Right.
They're going to make sure that it looks like it works, because that's all I need half the time. Just a 1-sentence explanation and I'm good. And because this is a psychological, not a gross out kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that is really the big stumbling block that I think people could get stuck on, is where you're expecting like duplicitous behavior and all this other, but no, there's like extended scenes of meals where they just talk. A lot of this movie is a lot of talking. A lot of talking.
Yeah, and a lot of talking that doesn't even really like move the story along.
Which is weird that I'm okay with it.
Right, yeah, because normally it doesn't work.
Right.
But as you kind of get into the tail end and they start to think that there may be something weird going on, the fiance, you know, she calls him but like doesn't really say much, and like he believes that it's her, so he goes to the police, and then they're like, well, okay. And then the police just totally fucking fumble the whole thing, like,
of course.
Whereas like they don't even really like, they do this like they get a girl that they arrest for shoplifting and essentially like con her into like working for them to be like the guinea pig for this guy.
That's what we like to call the Alex Murphy treatment.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
She didn't resist that much though, but then
because
again,
they were like, you're going to go to jail if you don't.
Yeah.
Going to be a long trial. You already dismissed the charges. What are you talking about?
Her biggest problem though was bleaching her hair.
I know, right?
I like that.
But so,
yeah, I'll help you catch a killer that's killing women that sort of look like me, but I'm not getting a haircut.
what are you talking? I look good. What are you talking about? So they con her into it, and obviously she gets kidnapped by the guy, and then, but like the police don't even like do their due diligence to like make sure she's okay.
Yeah, normally you'd be watching her.
Right. So they put her in the hospital, and she gets dismissed from the hospital, and then gets kidnapped by the lady that helps him. And they're like,
Obviously.
so I guess we'll just check at her house and see that she got home okay.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, these guys are worse than Italian cops.
Oh, they're so bad. Bad. The only reason she even survives or escapes is because the daughter decides she's done with all this shit. So like,
yeah.
Otherwise she was dead. They didn't help her at all. They killed her. Like the police killed her if that doesn't happen.
Oh. Yep. Can't argue that.
Nope.
That's shit.
All what it is.
Yeah.
This was your first time seeing this.
It was.
So I've seen, like I said before, I've seen it a few times through the years. Do you think, before we grade here, do you think this film is deserving of kind of the like upper echelon cult classic, best of all time type films that it has?
That's an interesting.
And there's a
question.
number of ways you can kind of look at it.
Yeah. Yes, because I mean, it's got great visuals. It's got a terrible soundtrack, which I know goes hand in hand with these things.
Time period, man. That's,
Yeah, no, I know. I was explaining to Ellen about, thank God this isn't Italian, because that'd be the only piece of music you hear. I love those. But also it doesn't really seem like the kind of movies that fall into cult movie stuff. This is just a small, like, personal problem that's going on. It's not a greater, but then again, shit, you think something like Rocky Horror, it's only two people as well, and that's, I know you don't like it.
Well, this is a cult film, like Carnival of Souls is a cult film.
Yeah, but that's supernatural. This is still just regular people. So I can see why the argument's there, but like Clerks is about regular people, and that's just talking and no action and stuff. So I think, overall it would be, but then again, I think, this was really panned by a lot of people. It took a long time, but then, that is the definition of a cult movie, where it finds its audience eventually. And it has. So what is my point? My point is, I guess, I can't argue with it being a cult, but I could argue against it, but not really strongly.
Yeah. It's definitely a type of thing where I think with it being 1960 and coming before so many of the other things, it definitely owns its place as kind of being a trailblazer. Now, when you put it up against other cult films, maybe it doesn't hold up as well as some others, but I think it holds up pretty well. And I think it's deserving of that cult classic status that it has. And that idea, again, that you got to remember that a cult film doesn't necessarily have to be a horror movie or a supernatural story. It's all about the like fan base. And
my Big Fat Greek Wedding turned into a cult movie.
Technically, yeah. I mean, you use Clerks as an example. It's a perfect example. It's just a comedy.
Yep. That was the highest return on investment videotape in history when I looked it up.
I believe it. It's probably still top 10. All right, let's grade.
All right.
Oh, wrong one. All right, Chris, Eyes Without a Face. Do you recommend it? What is your grade?
Yeah, I'm going to recommend it. But like we said, don't come yelling at us if you get bored, because this is a talky movie. I really do like holding on to scenes when necessary, when it works, holding on to scenes longer than any other normal director would. You just let the camera sit there and linger, because then you get to you just get a second to think about what just happened. And it's nice to get a breather in something that's not dense with story and like things going on, but things progress one after the other, and you could miss them. if you're thinking about other stuff. So I actually like that little moment of, all right, settle down. Look at the river. Watch the body float away. Okay, now what just happened? So yeah, I will give this a B+. I'd probably go higher, but I think I need a little more time to sit on it.
That's fair. That's still
I only watched it yesterday afternoon, so
that's fair. I'm also giving it a recommend, a very high recommend. If you're a listener of this show, then yeah, you gotta watch this movie. But keep in mind, it is a French film from 1960, and it purposely moves slow. So just keep that in mind. But it's very good. The cinematography is excellent. The visuals are excellent. Really, the acting is really good. Really, just the music is the only thing that's kind of off-putting, and it's just because it's like this kind of like jovial, almost circus-like music. That if you listen to the trailer at the beginning of the segment, that just replays a lot throughout the whole thing. Yeah. And it's just kind of a mystifying decision as to why that was the music. I get the idea, mad doctor, mad scientist, Carney type thing. Maybe there's a connection there with having kind of like upbeat circus-like music or carnival-like music. But it's the one thing in the film that doesn't work. Everything else is great. So rather than me giving it a straight A, I give it an A- just because of that. And again, I get the idea. I get the 1960, the time period. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I have to be on board with it, but I get it.
Right. It's just weird music. It doesn't belong there.
Correct. So there you go. The classic of Eyes Without a Face, that's available through Criterion. You can watch it on the Criterion channel. You can also watch it on Max. And then there's also obviously collector's editions of it out you can get. So, okay, moving on here. Howard's other pick is a film called Savage Land from 2015. Let's listen to the trailer.
A grisly discovery in the town of Sangre de Cristo this morning, and a number of SDC residents are reportedly still missing. Because as one police spokesman put it, the whole town is a crime scene.
Spent 30 years patrolling this border. You're gonna see some horrible things.
We all thought it was a mass murder case.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to the families of the Sangre de Cristo victims.
A person of interest was detained.
We found the suspect covered in blood.
38-year-old Francisco Salazar, an illegal immigrant, has been charged with over 24 counts of first-degree murder.
Everybody seems so shocked about this. Not me. Because I know what these people are capable of.
I basically believe that if he killed these people, I believe he should get the death penalty.
A serial killer. I mean, that was pretty much the general consensus.
Francisco Salazar remains jailed under high security in Heinzman.
But then the photos emerged. It changed everything that we thought about.
I don't understand. Who's out there?
Usually when somebody is playing with film, you can tell. You look at these pictures, there's none of that. You own a gun? I do. And ever since I've seen these photographs, I've been sleeping with it under my pillow.
At least they can't get me in here.
When we were kids, we couldn't even pronounce the place. We just call it Savage Land.
Okay, Savage Land 2015. Makers of this film, 3 directors are attached to it, all co-directing. Phil Guidry, Simon Hebert, and David Whelan. All of these are guys that make like sports documentaries for HBO.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So they worked on stuff like the Jim Rome Show. Jim Rome Show. What's the other one? Actually, one of the guys, David Whelan, is a producer and writer that worked almost exclusively with Jim Rome. Simon Hebert worked on something called Richard III. He's the one that doesn't have a whole lot behind him. But I know that Phil Guidry, NFL 360 Films, did a bunch of work with them. Sorry, not HBO, but NFL films.
Oh, okay.
And he also did
that explains why it comes off as a straight up, crime hour episode kind of thing.
And he did some PGA film stuff too. So, no recognizable actors and actresses in this. Love it. Love it. It's perfect for what it is. It is presented. I guess it falls into the found footage world, but it's presented as a mockumentary. It's not presented as like
it's a mockumentary about found footage.
Correct.
Sort of.
Yes, correct. And the basic story is you have a man named Francisco who is the lone survivor of what they are calling a mass murder in a town called Sangre
de Cristo, blood of Christ.
The Monte de Cristo.
That's a sandwich.
I'm hungry.
I'll take a sandwich.
I'll take a sandwich, definitely. And they believe that he's the killer.
Yes, because he was covered in everybody's blood.
Everybody's blood. And the film starts out with kind of explaining, this guy was arrested. He was covered in their blood. There's all the DNA. Many of the bodies were, what's the word they used? Were like destroyed beyond.
Yeah.
They couldn't identify.
I can't remember the exact word, but it's sort of like shredded, chewed.
Yep.
Just eaten by wild animals.
Yep. And I'm going to say right now that if you have not seen this movie and this sounds interesting to you, stop listening now, watch the film and come back. Because if you know anything more about it, I think it can really hinder your enjoyance of it. Because when it starts to play itself out, I found it really interesting because I actually hadn't seen this before and I didn't really know anything about it. I liked that I didn't know anything about it because when the stuff starts to kind of reveal itself, I was like not genuinely surprised. I could see where they were going, but I liked that I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that said, we are going to continue the review. If it's ruined for you from this point on, I apologize. Yep. Okay. So we get a extended interview with Francisco, the only interview he gives after being arrested. And it is a very kind of like confusing, lack of details, and just kind of like hard to believe story.
Yeah, yeah. Watching this multiple times, you see that Salazar doesn't want to tell anybody because who would fucking believe him?
Right.
Are we spoilery now? Is that?
Yeah, I think we're there.
Okay. When I first watched this, I was really hoping that it was vampires.
Okay.
It's not. I still really do wish it was. I think having it be what it is, which we'll get to, is just it's fine. Mm-hmm. Whatever. But it does make more sense in the context of what this movie's trying to talk about. So that's fine.
Yes. This film has an agenda for sure.
It definitely does. I forget what my point was.
You wanted it to be vampires. Film has an agenda when you first watched it.
Yeah, Salazar. So I forget what the fuck. God damn it. I took that right turn in that thought process there and I just never looked back. I don't know.
All right. So they're interviewing a jailed interview with him. With a psychiatrist. We also get a number of talking head interviews from a guy that wrote a book. We get some interviews with the sheriff.
The sheriff who is absolutely 100% supposed to be Joe Arpaio.
Oh, no question. Then we have
his name's close too.
Right-wing conservative guy that's supposed to be your like Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity type radio guy. And then we also have a Border Patrol agent, which was one of the guys that came in and saw the aftermath of what had happened.
Yeah.
Now, they do a really good job at the front of the film, basically laying everything out that like this is the reason why this guy was arrested. This is why everyone at the time thought that he was the killer and that like there wasn't really any questions about it.
Yeah.
And then there's a point where the guy that wrote the book talks about finding the role of undeveloped film.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much at the halfway point.
A little bit before the halfway point.
Okay.
And they develop the film. And the photos that are on this roll of film are like nothing anybody's ever seen before. And they are terrifying.
Yeah, it's not what they expected because Salazar in his life would take pictures of everything. Roadkill. Guy says one time I dropped my sandwich and he took a fucking picture of it. And it's like, well, yeah, you don't know what it's like to be a photographer. He's really into it. Yep. So,
and they have a talking head interview with a guy that is a professional journalist, photographer, and photojournalist. And he talks about like how when you're in it and if you have a camera, the camera is your weapon and you use it to document what's going on. And he pretty early on, they talk about, oh, well, why was he taking these pictures? And it's like, well, you know, if you're a photographer or, you know, a videographer, like, you know that you want to film this and you need
people need to see this. This is important.
And he makes the point of like, he probably thought that he wasn't going to make it out alive. So he took as many pictures as he could for whoever came after him.
Yeah. So it doesn't happen again.
Right.
I mean, that photographer, do you know who that photographer is?
I don't know. I don't.
The actor's name is Len Wein, Wein, and he created Swamp Thing and Wolverine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, how about that, huh?
All right. Good for him.
Yeah. He was really good. He was probably the most natural, relaxed actor in the whole thing.
Yeah, the guy that's the Border Patrol agent is pushing a little hard.
Yeah, but the great thing is none of these people in the world of this movie are supposed to be actors. They're just talking about stuff. So they can stumble over their words and all that. And that's perfect. That's
for the most part, for the most part, it works very well.
Yeah.
So as we're kind of getting told about the story, we get told about the pictures, and then they say that the pictures were inadmissible in the trial, because they couldn't validate or prove that they were real. Which is bullshit, because the guy that's the photographer was like, we looked at the photos. There's no evidence of manipulation or anything here. So like the fact that
they came off of a roll of actual film. So like, how do you manipulate that?
Well, and they keep talking about, oh, well, you know, we see things photoshopped all the time and stuff. And so the backbone of this movie is the time period, you know, we're talking 2014, 2015. This is before Trump's first run as president, but at the time where there was a really large groundswell of anti-immigration here in the U.S., specifically on the Mexico border. And that's where this film really kind of slams in. It's kind of like, you know, the racism towards people coming across the border. And they talk about how despite, and which I actually really like this. And it's funny because it's more timely now, I think, than it probably even was then. But they talk about Salazar and how, yes, he was an illegal immigrant, but he'd been here for many years.
Yeah.
And he was working and he had friends and he worked with a family that did a lot of like odd jobs and like construction work and stuff.
A church family.
A
pastor.
Yep. Yep. So like it does a really good job of being like, hey, he came here illegally, but
he's one of the good ones.
He's a better pillar to the community than probably the white people that live there, because anytime they talk to the white people, they're just ignorant and like, well, I shouldn't be coming over the border anyway.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's how it is, isn't it? You know, you
exactly how it is, yeah.
No, I can't go off on that.
Nope,
I'll
it's
just
fine.
keep going. That's just, but yeah, it's hypocritical. Yeah. Hey, come here and do the work I don't want to do. Now get the fuck out.
Right, exactly. And this film does a really good job of showing how ignorant that point of view is.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like the one guy where they say the name of the movie, right?
Yep.
He's like, oh, it was Sangre de Vida, we just called it Savage Land. Well, it's because you're a fucking idiot.
Right.
That's why. Right. You live in the middle of the goddamn desert and don't know what a book is.
Right. So after they discover the photos, they start to kind of go through them, and they talk about how it's a roll of 36 exposures, and he took photos as the night progressed. And they've got like a map and kind of like go over where he started, where the first photo was taken, and then as it goes along to the end and being the final photo. And now when I say that these photos are terrifying, they're terrifying. Like these are scary photos.
Really good art. I really love these.
So
really
as they
love them.
They show you the first photo, and he's taking a picture of the southern landscape. And you see all these outlines of bodies, people, something coming over the ridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
Hey, people.
And as they get closer, the photos, and they do a really good job with this too, because like the photos, a lot of them are underexposed, which would be if he was taking them at night and he wasn't operating with a flash and he wasn't, and he was also like in terror, like you're not going to take the time to set up you're not going to set your aperture and make sure your ISO's in the right spot. You're just going to start clicking off photos.
Yeah, and there are some where he uses the flash that look different, and it's really well done. Yeah.
So you start to see these people, these things, whatever they are, they're coming over the ridge, and they basically are swarming the town. Which is why you were like, when you were like, "Oh, vampires!" Like that made sense, like at first, and I had that thought too.
Because in Carpenter's vampires, they slept in the desert under the dirt. And then you just go, and if you're a smart vampire, you go up to Alaska for your 30 days, or you go into the desert because there's very small towns that would sustain you.
Yep,
that's what I was thinking,
and that's kind of what you get here.
But it's not vampires.
Yeah, spoiler, not vampires,
and I'm okay with that now.
yeah. No, I mean, and what they do works.
Yeah.
So. They keep going back and forth with showing the photos and talking about the situation. They talk about how Salazar really got railroaded because if you start to look at the map, there's no evidence of him being in certain areas.
Right. And also there were like 36 people in the town. And
56,
he ran,
they said, I think.
Okay, that's worse. So he ran through the whole town and killed everybody with nobody stopping him. Like, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure I could have got him off of the charges, by the way, is the rest of that sentence. But
well, they interview the guy that's supposed to be the lawyer, the actor playing the lawyer.
Perfect character.
Yeah.
Liked him. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's just basically like, well, I got other things I'm working on.
Yeah. It's like his third case. That's how it always is.
Yeah. He's like the public defender or whatever. And like, he's like, yeah, well, I did what I could, but, and it's the perfect example of like, he didn't fight to have the photos. He himself is like, well, the photos are like ridiculous. There's why would we put them into the trial?
Yeah. And that's not an impartial. That's not somebody that's there to help him.
No, it's somebody that just
wants this to go away. Yeah.
Exactly. So as the film goes on and we're giving more information and we start to see the photos and we get to see kind of how things happen, that, okay, well, he didn't do this. Like he's the lone survivor of it. And
yeah, that's when they talk about the family on top of the water tower.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
Yeah, they say what would scare these people so bad that they would climb up the water tower and would jump off it and die rather than face what was coming for them.
Yeah,
and they're like,
Salazar with a camera is not the answer to that.
Yeah, Francisco Salazar is not. And then like the water tower is the one where they're like, there's no evidence that he was even over there.
Yeah. There's no photos of him being close, none of it. But they needed a boogeyman so that people could sleep at night.
Yep, and they continue to hammer home the right-wing agenda of the, he's a illegal immigrant who came in here and he murdered people. And the sheriff is like, well, he's been reelected 7 times in a row in a landslide, and
doesn't matter. Yeah,
like he's just like it's just the like, yeah, no, this this is an immigration thing. This is the reason why we want to police immigration.
Yeah.
And so as things kind of play themselves out, so full spoiler here again. I mean, I've given you a number of things. So we are led to believe that this is a zombie thing that's going on. These zombies came out of the desert, came into this town and started eating everybody.
Yeah.
So it works, but, and I'm sure you're agreeing with me on this. It works, but.
Yeah, I'm there so far.
2 things I love about this movie.
Yeah.
They don't give you any fucking information.
Right.
There's no explanation where it came from, what happened, where it went. But I also hate
it's a natural disaster. Yeah.
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 But I also hate that we don't know where it comes from and where it goes.
Oh, we have an idea of where it goes, though.
Right. But so there's
if you
this...
watch through the credits.
Yes. Yes.
Which I didn't do the first time I watched it, which is why my headcanon for it was vampires.
Right. But if you start to try to kind of like split the hairs of like, well, how come after they rolled through this town, like, where did they go? What happened? Like, they weren't killed? Obviously, these zombies weren't killed because they don't say anything. They don't say anything about Salazar fighting back against them or anything like that. I think it's kind of given that like he probably took out a few zombies because he's covered in blood and like all of that stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But like there's never like an indication that he took them all out.
No, we know that he defended himself once, and that's probably where a bunch of the blood came from the first time. But it was his friend that came to see him on his house at his little place right on the outskirts of town, and that's when he reanimates. That's when we know for sure what it is.
Yep,
because he says he was dead, and then he wasn't. And I'm like, I know what that means. I've seen movies.
Like I've heard stories.
Yeah. So at that point, us as the watchers, as the audience, we know. Oh, okay, he did everything he had to do. He didn't lock himself in the basement.
No.
He's not near a trowel. We're fine. He's good. And then he just tried to get out of town. But I think he wanted to help people, didn't he? That's why he went into town.
I feel like that's where they were going with that. But they were already ahead of him, and he couldn't really do anything to help.
Right, because the hills are on the opposite side of the town from him. So he's going into it almost, not away from it. There's no way for him to...
Right. And they talk about how they're coming from the south and they're continuously heading north.
Yeah.
But there's a point, though, where you're like, well, he didn't take out all of these zombies. They rolled through the town. Where did they go then? Like,
right.
There's no other, at that point at least, there's no other stories of like things. And then we get into the like the cover up aspect of it. Like, and I think the stuff going on in the credits would have probably been better off put into the actual film, because if you like don't watch the credits through, like you don't get the idea of, you know. And the other thing too is like there's never been a person put on death row that's put to death within a year.
That's true. But
never happened.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is a whole town. That's something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But,
Yeah. I can't argue that. Yeah.
I mean, appeal processes take longer than that.
Right. And once he got the death sentence, he gets an automatic appeal, right? That's what they said.
Yep.
So,
but they denied it immediately and then put him on death row and killed him. And then it's a good little sly thing where like they show his hands and they're like, oh, he had marks and scratches and stuff. And you know that, okay, well, they put him to death, but he didn't stay dead. So
it was enough for them to feel like they've done something.
They do a good job of that too. I really liked how they were like, oh, we were told that his grave was robbed and we've never been able to find his body. And then there's the photos that show up again.
Yeah. But that's also after the whole town bitches about him being buried in America.
Yeah.
And then the grave is empty and they're like, well, that's not right either. It's like, what the fuck do you want?
Yeah.
Do you want him buried on American soil or not? Because he's not right now. What do you want?
Yeah, it's done well. Like the frustration that you feel from it is done well, because they're definitely like that's what they're going for there.
Yeah, and the difference too is usually in movies we get the insider viewpoint on what's going on, and with this, what we're getting is just what they are going to tell the public.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting restriction that we don't normally get on a movie, because this is like a corporate TV executive level decisions on editing kind of stuff.
Yeah, so. It's like if you something you'd watch on like the Discovery Channel or one of those places or any of those, like, I mean, it plays off like pretty well like a real like true to life crime drama.
Yeah.
And then filmmakers do their best to give you the little things. The word zombie is never used.
No.
Which I thought was good.
It's good sometimes, like here, but like if you're clearly in a situation with zombies, just fucking say the word.
Right.
Like it's okay to say it in a zombie movie. I don't know where did that rule come from where they make up new words for them.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe because if you're trying to go for realism, I guess. Like
I don't know. Wouldn't you just call them zombies? It's like the quickest, most identifiable word.
I think maybe because nobody other than him saw any of that. So
I'm sorry. I just meant anywhere they don't use it,
right.
like Shaun of the Dead or any of that. There they don't say the Z word. I get that, but Walker, Shambler, like that's fine if you want to break it down. Hey, watch out for that lurker, and then he's just standing there not moving. But generally, you're going to want to say, "Hey, there's zombies here," and everybody will stop and look around. Like that song. That's just a personal thing. It doesn't affect this one.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything really else to say other than what I want to include when I grade. You got anything else?
Nah, I mean, I could go on and on if we got political, but I'm not going to.
All right, Chris, do you recommend, what is your grade for Savage Land?
Yeah, this is high up on my found footage mockumentary recommend list. I watch it maybe once a year, or if I come across it. Like I have a few movies like The Dead Don't Die and As Above, So Below, that if I'm flipping through whatever, Tubi or anything, and it's there, I'm like, fuck, now I got to watch some of this. It's just that kind of movie. And I can't deny that I really enjoyed it, even though I got violently ill while I watched it this time.
Oh, really?
It was really weird. I was sitting there and I was fine. And then like I felt all this pressure in my head. Like how if you try to purposely turn your face red by upping it, but it wasn't going away. And then I got sick to my stomach and I threw up. Not a lot, but really violently.
Okay.
And it was so bad I had to turn the movie off.
All right.
That's how the music was bothering me that much because I was sick. Something was wrong. I don't know if I ate something, but like right after I started to feel better.
Okay.
So I finished the movie. It has nothing to do with anything, but it's just a weird thing that happened this time I watched it. And then I went back and finished it. But like there is this overriding drone kind of sound at times.
Yep.
And my brain was just like, nah, this is gonna be bad. You better stop.
Yeah, I want nothing to do with any of this.
Yeah. But this is a fun one. I was very inspired by the photographs to start doing my own kind of like shady monsters in the dark kind of thing. And that's difficult to get the level of detail and shadow at the same time. So that's a fun little challenge. So I appreciate it for that. But honestly, as a found footage mockumentary movie, this is one of the best, one of my favorites. So I am going to give this just an A. This is just, I will recommend this first to people, and Grave Encounters as like, you got to see this.
Cool. All right. I'm recommending it also. I agree. It's very well done. It's very well thought out. The use of the photos as opposed to like, crazy amounts of found video footage, I think is very effective. I mean, and not something that I'd seen done. I can't say that it was the first film to ever do it, but it's the first time I'd seen it. And it's done very well. And as we said, the photos are terrifying. The artwork in there is just like top notch.
I want to personally congratulate the person that did the work on those photos.
We'll find out who it was and send them an Instagram DM from @Cthulhu.
I never thought about that, honestly. So yeah, I'll do that today.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, no, I thought it was very good too. I was frustrated with some of the lack of information, but in this film, I think it works. It's the type of thing where I would have loved to have gotten more, but I'm okay that I didn't. So, and again, putting myself in the mindset of the filmmakers and them trying to present this as what was something you would watch on, HBO Max or Netflix or one of those things that's a true life crime doc. I get why they restrain and hold that stuff, because you're not gonna in a news-esque format, you're not gonna be like, so zombies.
Yeah. That's like Mass Panic.
Yeah. And I love the commentary on being like, we're being too harsh on people that are coming here, which I agree with. I am all for immigration and people coming here and finding, a way to live. I got no problems with any of that.
Yeah, it's what we're here for.
It's what our country was built on. So I don't understand why people have an issue with people coming here based on what the American dream was. So I don't get it.
I mean, just a fact. It's just a fact that natural-born citizens commit more crimes. Just a fact.
And the thing too is here, like, if you're gonna do crime, you're gonna do crime wherever you are. Like, they're not coming here to do crime. Like. And would I say that I would like everybody to go through the process and become, like a citizen or, like get the visa like the way they're supposed to? Yeah, sure. But you know what? People can't do that because the government makes it too fucking difficult.
Yeah. Nobody wants to wait 10 years to not be scared to get in a car accident or
like you can apply for a work visa and you got to wait and then they deny you. So like, what's the like?
You just do what that really clever dude did and just stay and then become president of the United States apparently as a fucking South African born citizen.
Either way. Anyway, yes, no, I enjoy this. I do love the use of the drone music as it does give a very unsettling feel throughout it. It's done very well. I'm not going to give it a straight A, but I'm going to give it a very high B+, borderline A-. It's very good. It's one of the better mockumentary found footage films we've seen in a long time. If I was making a top 10 of the genre, it would probably fall in there. I think it's that strong because it's doing something different and it's done well.
Yeah. Yeah. And it did something different in the middle of the whole craze too.
Right. Or even past the craze. The fact that they were able to do something after Paranormal Activity that was fresh and different. Because sometimes in the mockumentary world, like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
This works. So speaking of works, let's hope Joe's segment this week works. I don't know what happened last week. We weren't sure. So he's finishing Carnosaur this week. So let's just play it and go there.
Well, hello, Bill. Hello, Chris. And hello, OTC Nation. It's your boy Joe here. And, this week, Bill took me to the fucking brink because he made me watch the Eden Formula, a.k.a. Carnosaur 5.
Wow, okay.
Well, between Raptor and the Eden Formula as Carnosaurs 4 and 5, I'm sitting here wondering what the point was in distancing yourself from the original franchise. Like, were you embarrassed to be associated with a middling straight-to-video franchise, even when you yourself are the same thing, if not worse? Did Corman say, "These are beneath even me, and I will not have you sully the good name of Carnosaur"? Can Joe think of another thing here to complete the comedy rule of threes?
There, you did.
The only answer I have is to that last one. No, I couldn't.
Too bad.
Apologies to anyone who was foaming at the mouth in anticipation of my Carnosaur 3 review. I've started doing these things 2 at a time as I have a plethora of home projects I'm working on. So I'm alternating weekends between bumblefucking my way through building a new chicken run, a deck, some garden beds, etc., and bumblefucking my way through trying to get a chuckle buster out of you, dear listener, by watching anything that Bill foists upon me.
What I do?
I hope Bumble's in the mood.
In that process of a different watching schedule, seemingly both Bill and I did a goofy bad job of keeping track of it all. If you were indeed anxiously awaiting my thoughts on Carnosaur 3, it was bad. Just trust me.
I think I just skipped it and forgot to play
Jeff Fahey, and Tony Todd are all in the Eden Formula.
Bad.
So at least I'm guessing the terrible dialogue will be delivered convincingly. It's also proof that even good actors have bills to pay, and apparently the residuals from Candyman and The Howling are maybe not what you think they are. Less than 2 minutes in, and my only thought is, oh, John Carl Buechler, what have you done? I've seen videos with better looking production in local pro wrestling promos that some scrub worker filmed in their car. The first few Misfits albums had better sound quality than this, quote, movie, unquote.
Bullshit.
Your local conspiracy
I'm gonna have to check that
nutcase
now.
makes a more compelling YouTube about how Barack Hussein Obama is a lizard person than this movie does about Tony Todd and a group of struggling actors looking to pad their resume, just dieharding their way, stealing dinosaur goo. If this gives you any indication about how seriously anyone took this film, Dee Wallace is like a high muckety-muck corporate lady of the company that's making the dinosaurs, and she, mid-scene, busts out a line about how she's hungry and pulls out a styrofoam container of Chinese food and just eats it while performing the rest of the scene. And
all right, she can do anything she wants.
Yeah, absolutely.
It plays off like it was supposed to be there, but I think it might have gone more like this. Miss Wallace, I'm getting a lot of your chewing and slurping in the microphone, and nowhere in the script does it say that your character is eating. Cut to Dee Wallace. So fucking what, sound guy?
Yeah.
Did you do sound for E.T.? No, you did not. A professional did that. You reach for my lo mein again and you're pulling back a stump.
Ooh.
Also, there's a script? Like, the whole first half, we're cutting back and forth between Tony Todd and the actors who I'm sure thought that they were all friends when this was over, just spouting off random bad guy dialogue and jargon that sounds like the guy who writes Christian scare films barked at his son to tell him what slang the black kids at school use, and then just decided to come up with his own. And Dee Wallace and Jeff Fahey are sequestered in a set all to themselves because they probably didn't want to meet anyone else making this film. And they're just being evil corporate people and caring about it all about as much as I care for the civil service employees who voted for the orange felon only to get immediately doged out of a job by a 23-year-old who was only in charge because he was unafraid to say the N-word on Twitter and Elon really liked his sense of freedom of speech. Unlike this movie, I'm not going to pad or fluff this review with a bunch of unnecessary bullshit. It was pretty bad, diehard, dinosaur goo, dinosaur. Do you want to know the final moment of this film?
Sure.
Yes.
Do you?
I
It
do.
sums up the whole fucking thing. So Jeff
All right, let's
Fahey
go.
and Dee Wallace have saved the day. Hooray. They're driving away from the now blown up facility, and she says something about how making a dinosaur was a big mistake, and maybe next time they should consider making a giant ape. Jeff Fahey says, huh? You ever consider a career in motion pictures? He actually says motion pictures. She looks at him and says, nah, too much pressure. Credits. Fuck you, Buechler. Here's the thing. If anybody watching this, or if anybody listening to this knows John Carl Buechler, fucking give him my Facebook. I need to talk to that man. I need to DM him, and we need to have a chat. Here's the thing. The good. The Carnosaur series is complete. No more Carnosaur for Joe.
Good.
The bad. Oh, of all the many things wrong here, I'm going to go with the audio. I have heard clearer audio in reel-to-reel recordings of like doom metal album demos from 1971. Like,
Wow.
If you're familiar with early heavy metal pioneers, Iron Claw, listen to their song Skull Crusher. That song has clearer audio than this movie. We're done with Carnosaur, and I'm on to Poison Ivy, which honestly I'd rather have than watch any of these ever again. A small mercy, because even if it's terrible, there should be boobs. And it's hard to be filled with rage when you're looking at boobs. Poison Ivy 1 is next week. Until then, be boobs, everyone.
Be boobs. The Michael Bublé.
What was the title of that one? Was who?
The Eden Project.
Oh, okay. I would direct John Carl Buechler over to his Facebook, but he's been dead for 6 years.
Okay.
So that's difficult. Probably from embarrassment.
I doubt that. I'm guessing cancer.
I think, you know what? I was looking through the stuff he directed, and I
His
would
early
be,
stuff is good.
I would be antagonistically proud of what I've done.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of being antagonistically proud for no reason, here's Reverend Scott.
That's why I said, I don't know, maybe. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Sometimes.
It's rare, but thankfully people don't call me out on it.
People got too many other things they got to worry about.
Not me.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
With Reverend Scott.
Probably like 6 cheese and 5 pepperoni.
Oh man, I could go for a pepperoni.
Meaningless, right? But it's
not
I guess
meaningless. Pizza's important.
Hey there, Bill and Chris. This is
Zach Galifianakis.
Actually, it's Reverend Scott, but, close enough. And if I'm lucky, maybe you're actually hearing this on the show this week.
I don't know what's going on with the friggin' iPad here. Let's hope it doesn't screw up Scott's segment, because Scott will be very angry.
Oh, he'll be in the car on the way here, and he wouldn't even have heard the show yet.
And let me tell you, that's a long drive. But you eventually got my review of The Monkey up on there last week, so at least you didn't have to cancel the show.
If the level of whether I would cancel the show or not, it would be based on feedback, we would have been done a long time ago.
Whatever that means. Irregardless, that's all in the past now. What really matters is the future, namely a brand new movie on Apple TV Plus called The Gorge, and I watched it. And let me start by saying, in a world with basically no video rental stores left, direct-to-streaming is the new direct-to-home video. But unlike direct-to-home video, streaming services sometimes try and draw new customers with these films, which means some of them actually have some money behind them, such as The Gorge, which pulled Miles Teller from Top Gun Maverick and others, and Anya Taylor-Joy from Furiosa. Miles and Anya play Levi and Drossa, 2 guns for hire, the best of the best and long-range snipers. Levi contracts his services out in the U.S. after his stint with the Marines ended, and Drossa does her best to maintain a Lithuanian accent. They don't know each other, but they soon will. Ominous laugh. Because Sigourney Weaver calls in Levi to a military base to ask him to go on a special mission. He's already sniffing that there might be something odd going on because the military people are answering to her and she's just dressed like a civilian in a suit. But nonetheless, she suspiciously asks him if he has anyone that would miss him if he was gone, which he stupidly says no. He agrees to go, for some reason. Drossa, on the other hand, has her father still, but he's dying of cancer and he knows his time is very limited. And she too has been given a mission that will require her to go dark for a full year. A year her father doesn't have left. He tries to comfort her by saying that he'll just end it himself on Valentine's Day anyway, so you're not missing much, kid. Which is kind of a bummer, I know.
I'm an adult. I don't wear a diaper. You're not going to make me cry. Maybe.
Fast forward to The Gorge, a top-secret location with a large tower on either side of a large, deep, mysterious, mist-filled chasm. Levi is kept completely in the dark about where it actually is, and he has to sacrifice his phone and any other personal items before he's allowed to even go down onto the ground. The western part of the globe provides surveillance for this one, and the eastern world provides surveillance for the other. A British dude named JD briefly explains to Levi what he is to do. Make sure that these cloaking devices are working to shield the gorge from anything above, like satellites, so no one can see it, and make sure the auto turrets have ammo, and shoot anything else that comes out of the gorge. And don't make contact with the person on the other tower across from you, which obviously Levi follows all those directions to a T.
Well, that's some bullshit.
Yep.
The tower is pretty much self-sufficient as far as him having fruits and vegetables and a garden to eat and a place to shower, and he has running water and all that jazz. Oh, and did I mention it's an entire year with no contact with the outside world beside a single monthly call over a radio?
I couldn't do it.
Now, this could be considered a spoiler, I suppose, but it happens almost immediately and you can call it from a mile away. JD is done with his year on duty and he is ready to get the fuck out of Dodge. And he's met by a helicopter in the woods and he's picked up and they confirm his identity, then promptly shoot him in the head.
Gosh, shit. There's the conflict.
So right off the bat, we know there's some shady shit going on, but it's even shadier than we once realized. But that doesn't stop Levi from doing his job. He doesn't know that other guy's dead. But Levi goes about doing his job and writing some poetry in his book and searching around the inside of the room and finding some other people had taken other cool quotes from other poetry books and written them on the wall. It's kind of some cool character building and some lore and such. But that's also a lot of time alone, and you get curious. You start using your binoculars for something other than looking into the gorge, and now he's spying on the other tower. He's even lying in his communications after he sees Drasa, all decked out in black, chopping firewood. He conveniently doesn't let his commanding officers know that he's actually seen the other person on the other side. Maybe because it's a pretty girl.
Hey, baby, want to wet your whistle?
But who knows? Anyway, it doesn't take her long to notice him as well. And before you know it, these two young hotshot snipers are communicating with each other with messages written on paper and dry erase boards like it's the roof scene from the Dawn of the Dead remake. Which, for a movie full of government secret sites and cloaking devices and all the shady shit happening, the back and forth between Levi and Drasa is rather refreshing and kind of fun. They even have a couple Easter eggs to previous roles, with Anya playing chess with him and Miles playing some makeshift drums. But right about when you're really getting used to seeing this budding quasi-long-distance relationship, we find out exactly what they're guarding against in these towers. They call them Hollow Men. It's a reference to a poem or something, I don't know. These Hollow Men start trying to scale the walls. They get drawn to noise and they kind of look like humans, but they're also kind of fucked up with these large organic looking growths coming out all over their bodies, and they're soaking up hundreds of rounds of ammo, some of them even reaching the edge of the fencing at the bottom of the tower and blowing up the spiked mines hanging right below the fence. Levi and Drasa help each other shooting across the gorge, and their relationship is all the stronger for it. So much so that Levi decides he's going to find a way across the gorge to meet Drasa in person. It's a nice climax, pun intended, to the odd romance story that's developed in the center of this film. I would say it gives you exactly as much as needed to get the point across without overstaying its welcome.
I don't like to have that stuff slammed down my throat if it can be helped.
But as soon as Levi tries to return back to his tower, something goes horribly wrong. Eventually, Levi and Drasa both end up inside the gorge.
Weird stuff starts to happen almost immediately.
This was directed by Scott Derrickson, who also directed Doctor Strange, The Black Phone, Sinister, and The Exorcism of Emily Rose. When you see the various areas they explore in the gorge, you can see his influence everywhere. The different colors and the atmosphere are dense and visually striking, not to mention everything feels like it just could kill you at any moment.
Anxiety inducing for sure, and the way they present it is, I think, very, very good.
Yeah.
It's like a mixture of odd creatures, a fucked up forest, huge bugs, and things similar to you would see in The Mist. There's even some fucked up spider things, which I'm sure Chris would love those.
Not me.
No? Okay.
No.
Along with some strange body horror that reminded me of the movie Annihilation. Levi and Drasa have to save each other several times as they discover all the secrets the government has been trying to hide down there in the gorge. I won't get into all the details, even though you'll likely be able to figure out a lot of where the things are going in this movie as it progresses on your own. It's presented in a way that's entertaining enough to make you not really care about how predictable it may be. It's a bigger budget B movie after all.
Yeah, it's not Das Boot.
Nope. Far more exciting than Das Boot.
And I think shorter.
There's plenty of action scenes with an unconventional love story sandwiched in between them.
It's like fast song, and then 40 slow songs.
Yeah.
But it's a mystery, so that's how that works.
And even though you'll likely find some of this predictable, I think it leads you into a lot of places that you wanted to go, and it ends up making it a pretty satisfying watch. But does it deserve a recommend?
Yeah, I'll recommend it. It's
No one asked you, Chris, but yes, I recommend The Gorge, and I give it B+.
Sounds pretty good.
Well, that's it for this week, but real quick, I wanted to mention last week's reviews. The review of The Arrival was fun with lots of mentions of tiger blood, so I give that a B+. And I was gonna give you a review of Below an A-, but you kept calling the sub a ship when the naval tradition is to call it a boat. And so that knocks it down to a B-.
Shit.
But what do I know? I'm just some guy on the internet that you happen to look up to and admire very much.
You know what he's good for? He's good for being the president or the vice president.
I agree. So until the next love story involving a cavernous gorge, peace and love, guys. Holy shit with Reverend Scott. It gets only the best of recommendations.
I feel like if I recommend this, I will ruin any goodwill I have with whoever is left that listens to me. So I am not going to recommend it.
But with that said, it's also mildly entertaining.
The mildest.
All right, then. Thank you very much to Howard for being a supporter of the show, suggesting 2 excellent flicks for us to review this week. Hope you guys enjoyed those. And Howard, hope we did the films justice. Thank you very much for your support. If you would like to support the show and don't, go to patreon.com/outside the cinema. Send us a couple films to check out, and we will feature them on the show for you. If you want to get in touch with Chris or I, you can go to Instagram at OTCBill or at Cthulhu.
Yep.
That's the best way. We do have a Facebook group. Feel free to use it. I don't really use it.
No, I went on Facebook a little while ago, and I had a shit ton of friend requests, which was nice to see.
Yeah, I tend to get a decent amount. I jump on Facebook purely for show and professional stuff now. It's the only time I use it.
Yeah.
And I don't use X anymore.
No, I've deleted everything I have there.
Yeah, I mean, I think I still have them on my phone, but like I don't use them. So Instagram is, and as much as I would like to get rid of Instagram too, I have too many connections through it. So
yeah,
that's the best way to reach out to us, though. So next week, I don't know what we're doing as of yet, but we'll be doing another Patreon show next week. If you are a member and have not sent some films to us, shoot us some films. You can either email them to us at outsidethecinema@gmail.com or just send us a message through Patreon. That works too. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Cool.
All right, everyone have a good week. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.